Good afternoon. So today I'm here to talk about how to achieve a growth mindset in your business. I'm a Galway girl and happy to be here speaking on this in Dublin today. So basically, I'm a wellness trainer and a coach. Thank you. So first of all, looking at the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. That jumping around on me there. So people with a fixed mindset, they can often refuse or don't see a bigger picture for their life. They fear challenge and obstacles, and they often hold the belief that it's their way or no way. But of course, when we have this kind of a belief system, it causes stagnation in our work. It also causes strangulation of moving forward, and it makes us avoid challenges because we have that fixed mindset. A fixed mindset doesn't really support growth. On the other hand, we look at what a growth mindset is. And somebody with a growth mindset, as things are flipping around here, embraces challenges. They persist through obstacles. And they're also willing to seek inspiration from others. So basically, they look around them at their environment. They're happy to, look at new strategies and put effort and energy so that they can grow their mindset in order to move into a place where there is growth. So unlike the fixed mindset, a growth mindset supports movement. So what makes you who you are? Basically, what makes us who we are is made up of our beliefs, our values, our unconscious biases, and all of these together make up our personal stories. And our personal stories fuel our actions. So firstly, going to look at beliefs and what is a belief. Our beliefs form from our perceptions of our environment, and our beliefs start to form from a very, very young age. And so when we hold beliefs around fundamental things in our life, and if we actually started to believe this or take on this belief at a very young age, it's still fueling our actions while we're in our 30s, in our 20s, in our 40s, in our 50s, until we look at it. And this could be a belief that keeps us in a fixed mindset and not in a growth. I just wanted to do a little bit about, show you a little bit of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I'm sure many people know. So basically, this is a psychological tool, and it shows the development from, it's like a pyramid style, and it shows how we go from our basic needs, our physiological needs, our sense of safety, our belonging, self-esteem, and what he coins self-actualization, which is actually another word for reaching our full potential. So when we're young, we start, we perceive our environment and we start forming our beliefs. Now, the physiological needs we have, and these actually are needs that we have, we all have them, and it's okay to have needs, and it's okay to accept that we do, but it's the beliefs that we form around these beliefs. The second one there, belonging. So belonging really is about belonging to, it's an internal need we have. It's not necessarily about belonging to a place, but it's a huge need, and it's a need that we all have, to feel as though we belong. And when the beliefs we form around these basic needs we have are met, then we can move up and into having good self-esteem, having confidence. And we know what that feels like. If we know that, if we walk into a room, let's say, and we don't really feel comfortable in it, it's hard to build confidence in that from that place. So now this shows, as I say, the pyramid of all the way up to the top to achieving our potential. But it doesn't mean that we're going to have this perfection and reaching our potential in every area of our life. We could have the same dynamic going on in different areas. For example, perhaps our relationships at work are doing really well and everything is good at work. But when we come home in the evening, there might be just something off with our relationships in our home. Just an example. So it's not like you do this and life is wonderful. Life throws us challenges in order for us to grow and evolve. So when we get through the challenges, we're able to, get outside into the magic, past the inner glass ceiling that we have. But also, just because, let's say, in one particular area of our life, I mentioned, let's say, relationships at work, let's say we feel, everything's going well, it doesn't mean that we won't get a challenge that will challenge us. But if our beliefs, like around safety, and I'm actually going to take the pandemic as an example, why not? It was like people's beliefs around their security were rattled. Everybody's was worldwide. But people reacted differently based on how their personal belief around safety and security was. Because generally, if we had a pretty good, sense that we're safe in the world, we may not have got affected as much as someone that really had a very negative idea around, a belief around their sense of safety in the world. So that's why people react differently to different circumstances. And I'll talk about triggers in a moment. But it's about we all hold different beliefs in different areas of our life. And obviously we want to work our way, and I'm going to show you how we can change from this fixed mindset, if we might have it in a particular area of our life, into a more growth mindset. Sorry, go back up here I just wanted to talk next about values. So our values are the core pillars of our identity, and they're also the principles which affect how we conduct ourselves. So sometimes what can happen is we find that we're not actually working or living in alignment with our own core values. We may have taken on societal values because that's the way it was. We might have taken on our parents' values. And what happens at a certain time of our life, if we're having an issue with something and we go for coaching or whatever it is, we realize that we have a problem with an area of our life that we want to change. One of the things we look at, as well as our beliefs, is our values. Because when we start to work in alignment with our own core values, we realize, jumping down to, we realize that we're actually living our life to our purpose, our own purpose. That elusive thing people go, trying to find my purpose in life. When you're living in alignment with your own core values, you're going to be on the road to finding your purpose, because things are just lined up better. So we always want to look at our values and make sure what we're doing in our life, that we are actually, looking and living our life in alignment with those core values. I talk a lot about that one because it's just something I think that we're never taught these things at school, and it's not something we look at. Another thing is unconscious biases. Now, these are things we all have. So it's when we sort of have an unconscious association towards a certain maybe group of people. The word unconscious is the big word here, because we're not consciously aware that we may have, a dislike or a prejudice or whatever. But all these things fuel our actions. And it's when we start doing this work of peeling back these layers and looking at what makes up our personal story that we can then move forward. And the personal story, as I say, a result of all of what I've spoken about. So this is what I call your point of power. How do I change if I have an issue in my life, I have a fixed mindset, I've got this belief, or I don't know what it is exactly. It doesn't matter what it is. It's something in your life that you want to change. You want growth. You want to maybe go past that glass ceiling that you've created for yourself. How do we do that? So we all have lots of thoughts going through our head every day, and we're also bombarded with a lot of information. We might be scrolling through social media, we hear stories, we may be in a coffee shop and we overhear conversations. It doesn't matter what it is. What happens is that we might hear a judgment from somebody, or we might read something on social media. It triggers us. That's the word, the trigger. So what it's doing is it's triggering that personal story that you have, that you formed from your beliefs, or not being in alignment with your values, or maybe an unconscious bias. A trigger. We all know that, I'm sure, when we get triggered by something. Our personal stories also, as well as having a belief, they also have emotions attached to them. So let's say, hypothetical example of someone who doesn't like standing up talking at a meeting, or even, it could be just even at a table. If someone asks your advice, anyone have any advice on that? it might be something that you really shy away from. You feel so fearful. You can look and see, like, the emotion there is fear. But if you formed, it could be, and a lot of people can resonate with this. Let's say it was me that this happened to. I stood up at school when the teacher asked a question, and I was there, teacher, and I got picked to give the answer. But I gave the wrong answer, and everybody started laughing at me. So if that happened and I formed a belief, let's say, that I am never in my life going to let this happen to me again, I feel so vulnerable, I feel so ashamed, I'm never going to speak again in front of people. That's how we form beliefs at a young age that we're not even aware of. And the emotion there, whatever is attached to that, in this particular case, fear, vulnerable, humiliation, we hold on to the energy of those emotions in our personal stories. So when I talk about something triggering us, the trigger alert, it also, when it triggers the personal story, it triggers the associated emotion. This is where we have our point of power. We can react the same way and get the same result that we always do. Let's say in the hypothetical story there, we'll never open our mouth and we'll never put ourselves forward to do anything. We won't speak in public. Or the point of power is we can change. We always have the capacity to change and the choice, should I say, to change. We can decide, we're going to look and see, what is it that's actually stopping me from speaking up? And it's when we pull back those layers that we can actually realize that it's an old story that has us stuck in the past. So we can use this, for example, in any sort of an area where we know we've a fixed mindset. And the emotion sometimes even, when it comes to business, when it comes to maybe, let's say, if you're in a bigger company and you want to bring in wellness mindset work for your staff, there might be that fear that if I give the people all this information, maybe they'll leave the company because, they'll realize I don't want to work here or I want to, go on and do something else. But that's fear that's stopping you. So we always look at whatever's coming up, what emotion is coming up. Alternatively, we could not be fearful and we could say, imagine all these people are going to become the best advocates for my company and they're going to go and tell everyone what a great place this is to work in because they do so much for their employees. So, yeah, going back here to, I talked about someone with a fixed mindset. So I said they refuse to see the bigger picture. I see the typo there now. So we find out the belief that's stopping us, okay? Why can't we see the bigger picture? Is there a belief stopping us that we're not able or we can't? We look and we ask that question, what belief is there? I also said the fear, challenges or obstacles. It's again examining that statement. What fear is there? What is it about the challenge or obstacle? Because the nuggets, the gold is beyond those fears and obstacles, as we know. That's when we get through those challenges that we actually grow and we have our growth mindset. And another typo. I said they held the belief. It's their way or the higher way. Why are we holding on to that belief so strongly? Why do we think that we can't look to others, listen to what people have to say to us and get inspiration from them? We don't have to, if someone gives us criticism, we can take the good and leave the rest. So it's sometimes the fear of other people saying things to us that stops us from listening and really hearing what people have to say. So I always say to people, control the controllables. And I do wellness training with companies and with individuals. And I do it through 4 pillars of wellness. So I've touched on these this morning, just now. The mental operating system is the beliefs, the values, and what makes up our mind and what fuels the personal stories. The emotional bit is so big, I give it its own pillar, because our emotions really are, and you know what? An emotion is just a piece of energy. E for energy and motion, energy and motion. And when we can actually put, we are not the fear, we have an emotion of fear coming through us, we can put that, bridge between the two and realize we don't have to allow fear consume us. We can look at the emotion and we can weed it out. And also then, we can develop tools and we can look for tools to help us. And as I mentioned earlier, when we're living in alignment with our core values and we've realized that we've aligned them, we're definitely on a path that's toward that elusive, finding our purpose in life. So what makes a good leader? And this could be a leader as a mother in a family. It doesn't necessarily, it could be in a company. We're all leaders in certain areas of our life. So I just put down a few points here. Being inclusive and open-minded, quite self-explanatory. Allowing people work towards their strengths. And this is huge as well, because we all have strengths and we all have more perceived weaknesses. And that's the way everyone is. And if we're in a team at work, and if you're a manager of a team or you work with a team, allowing people to actually work to their strengths is going to have a team that's so much more, optimal and getting out there and getting the work done, because everyone is going to be happier when they're actually not being maybe forced or encouraged to do something that they're actually quite weak in. And that brings us to another one about, supporting personal development. If somebody is, weaker at one thing, is to maybe allow them an opportunity to grow and to provide the training that they need, or else put them into maybe a different department where they can excel. So also, of course, collaboration is a huge one. So I just wanted to, in summary, leave you with this quote. As each day passes, and as you stay true to your beliefs and values, you get a little bit closer to your goal. And what a fact that is, because when we're living in, and we know that life has challenges, we know that we get thrown these curveballs every now and again, but always coming back to the true you, back in alignment with who you are, why you're doing what you're doing. And one great tool we can use is an exercise called Finding Your Why. I'm sure some of you know it. Coming back to what is the core motivator that gets me out there, that gets me doing what I'm doing. And it doesn't even have to be. We can relate this to our personal life as well as our business life. Finding out what motivates me, where are my strengths, aligning to those, and really, rooting out those beliefs that keep us stuck. So that's me, guys. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.